Hey everybody, how are you? Hope everything is going well with you. And what an amazing game between the Los Angeles Rams and the Seattle Seahawks. That game, you thought it was going to be over, and then with a minute 50 left, the Seahawks left with the Rams with just a little too much time. Just a little too much time. Okay, but the Seahawks pulled it out. The Rams, get this, are 0-2 over the past two games. How about that? The NFC champions are on a downside. And it's not like they have been, let's put a fine point on this of truth. It's not like the Rams have been blown out or anything. The Rams have lost some close scores, although arguably the Buccaneers beat the Rams worse than the Seahawks did. The Seahawks had the lead, lost it for a bit, also tenuously held on to it, lost it again, then regained it, then lost it again, then got it back, and held on for dear life. It was, as Raider AL 1906 says, it's a good game. Gurley isn't the same. Gurley's not the same, no. And teams are ready for what the Rams do now. That offense is starting to look more like a gimmick because it lacks enough diversity in plays and formations to have an answer for what's thrown at it. But I've got a. This is not going to be a long live stream. I want to cut right to some news that I believe needs to be straight out attacked and debunked before it goes too far. And basically, it has to do with the Las Vegas Stadium and the latest news regarding the parking lot buy that the Raiders did of $28 million. Now, and I say that because the Raiders have spent a lot of time, um, really trying to push a narrative that says, "Hey, we've got this figured out, and um, this $28 million of land that we bought is going to do the trick." Well, let's look at this. All right, let's look at that. CBS San Francisco reports Raiders buy $28 million of land for parking near Las Vegas Stadium. Okay. And this is the Associated Press report. And it goes, the Raiders, who are spending their final season in Oakland, everyone thinks, okay, have spent. This should say have spent. It says has spent. But hey, it's the state of things, right? I'm making the correction as I talk to you. Look at this. Let me read this. This is, all right. This is the AP. Note that, the AP, okay? And they didn't correct this. The Raiders, who are spending their final season in Oakland, has spent. It's have spent. The Raiders have spent, plural, okay? At any rate, the Raiders have spent more than $28 million to acquire several future parking sites for their under construction Las Vegas football stadium, Allegiant Stadium. I put that in there. They didn't have that in there, right? But then listen carefully to the next paragraph. The Las Vegas Review-Journal reported Wednesday that the Raiders purchased several parking lots and commercial buildings near its $2 billion, 65,000 seat dome stadium. Officials say only 2,725 spaces are expected to be available on site at Allegiant Stadium located west of the Strip, which you know. But then get this. Oakland Raiders president Mark Boudin said the newly acquired parcels open up around 2,700 additional spots. Then it goes on to say, read, Boudin previously said the team had agreements to park 9,000 vehicles within walking distance of the stadium. Officials say the purchase comes after Clark County approved a pair of 2-year leases at $1.1 million annually for plots owned by the Department of Aviation. Those are the ones that are 3 miles away. But get this, okay? The total need of parking lots is over 16,000 spaces. So right now, the Raiders can only account for something like just over 5,000. 5 times 3 is 15. That's not even 1/3 the number. So basically, you're going to have a football experience that in total is going to be very unpleasant. Can you imagine attending a Super Bowl or any any game when they finally start playing down there, okay? All right? Can you imagine? Can you imagine having to go 3 miles to get to the stadium? She says he likes Seattle football stadium. Yeah. Hey, the Seattle's CenturyLink is a nice place. I've been there. It's a great place to watch a game, easy to get to, fantastic sight lines, and in fact, the Raiders had in their office a design for a stadium at the Coliseum in Oakland, the Coliseum grounds, that looked a lot like CenturyLink. I wish they'd built it. She says the design is great. If Oakland could have done it, it would have copied it. Well, hey, the drawing was done by Mies Architects. You're new here, Chi, but I actually broke that story. Okay? So, here we are, all right? John says, no, I can't imagine. I can. I have the drawings. But here is another example of the organizations. Hey, thanks. The organizations, specifically the Raiders, the construction people, Clark County, the Las Vegas Stadium Authority. Yeah, Rams didn't win. Not presenting us with the full truth. Because the full truth is Clark County, if you type Clark County, Raiders, parking requirement, okay? Let's see what we get here if I type that, all right? It says, or it should read, parking study. Raiders Stadium site only holds 15%. I think this was a good one. Now, originally, they were supposed to finalize a land deal for 27,000 spaces, but that didn't happen. That was a few years ago. All right. And this is written by a guy named Adam Candy, who is no longer active. But this is what he wrote. The study, this is what he wrote. Parking at, this is a Friday, June 2nd, 2017, 2 a.m. Parking at the new Raiders Stadium will prove much harder to come by than a ticket to the game. The Russell Road site purchased by the team last month will hold less than 15% of the parking spaces required for Clark County to certify the 65,000-seat stadium for occupancy, according to a traffic impact study commissioned by the Raiders. The team needs, I'll read that in a second, the team needs the certificate in order to begin work on the $1.9 billion stadium, on which it is scheduled to break ground by the end of the year. The tight 30-month construction calendar to be ready for the 2020 NFL season leaves little room for delays in permitting. The study, conducted by design consulting firm Kimberly Horn and Associates, found that just 2,400 of the 16,250 parking spaces needed. You have doubts? Let me show you, okay? Right here. 16,250 parking spaces needed will fit on the 62-acre site acquired by the team for $77.5 million. County code requires a quarter space per event attendee, which equates to 16,250 for a Raiders game at the stadium. Those 2,400 spaces likely will be reserved on game days for luxury suite holders, club seat ticket holders, players, coaches, and team staff. Okay? And it said that to handle a capacity crowd of 65,000 people for a Raiders game on a Sunday afternoon, the report concluded satellite parking sites throughout the valley will be needed. Potential satellite locations could include the North Valley, Henderson, and the South Valley near the M Resort. Specific sites will be identified in an addendum to the study at a later date. Okay, so there's the truth. The truth is, and it didn't come out in these news reports, that hey, the Raiders have only identified 2,700 parking spaces. They made a purchase of $28 million just for those. But you still have, you still have another 10,000, 11,000 spaces you have to identify. Because you take the 2,400 in the stadium, 2,700 at this $28 million piece of land that they just purchased, right? Okay, that's just north. That's what, 5,100 spaces. You need 16,000, so you're looking at 11,000 more. And the initial report was that the Raiders had bought 9,000 spaces. So let's take that 27,000 off the 9,000. We're only getting just a little over 6,000 spaces, right? So you're still short by 5,000 or so. Wow. And then not only that, they're spreading you throughout the valley. So that means that if you're coming in and you have to take a bus, we don't know how long it's going to take the bus to get there. You don't know the traffic. You got to deal with airport traffic. There's traffic from other events. Maybe BTS is in town. Maybe BTS happens to be playing at the Madison Square Garden, this MSG Sphere, right? If they happen to be there on the same day as a Raiders game, oh my Lord. And that's not to mention everything else going on in Las Vegas. That's going to be a nightmare. Is that a Raider game experience? It doesn't sound like one to me. Of course not. All right. Cowboy Wrestler. Before I get to Cowboy Wrestler, Jeff Giordano says Rams not win. I think he's upset about that. Seahawks. Chi Izuki says, one thing that helped the Raiders draw fans is the parking lot experience. Very fun for both the Raiders and visitors. This is why the Coliseum works for football, not baseball. I agree. Cowboy Wrestler adds, I'm sorry, but I've had it with Oakland botching these negotiations with sports teams. I agree. I gave them slack on the Warriors and Raiders, but not the A's. I've had it with the incompetent fools. And then Cowboy Wrestler follows up with this. Raiders made their bed about moving to Vegas. They need to sleep in it now. Could give two damns about them. I'm worried about the A's right now. Cowboy Wrestler, I hear you, but you should also blame the A's for some very sloppy community handling. And what I hear are people just saying, lay down and give the A's what they want. But you know what? Think about it. Actually, the mayor did try to do that. She gave the A's a choice between Howard Terminal and the Coliseum. But the A's have done what they've shown a habit of doing through this entire process, initiating something the community didn't want. They rebuffed at Laney College, okay, because there was no concern for affordable housing in the plan. And then they picked, rather than Howard Terminal or the Coliseum, they picked both, deciding to tie up both parcels of land. Anybody knows it's not going to fly, and they don't need the Coliseum. Okay? Now, if the A's step forward and say, hey, look, we'll build something in accordance with the parcel, my question is this. Are you going to crowd out every other sport that can go there? Are you going to kill the Coliseum? This is my issue. The A's want to tear down the stadium. Why? To cut us off from having football or any other kind of sport? That's what they want to do. That was never in the Coliseum specific plan to just erase or eliminate the stadium. Why is it so important to eliminate the stadium? Okay, that's my question. If the A's are allowed to do that, we're basically allowing one organization to kill or severely curtail our ability to establish a sports industry, a true sports job generating industry in Oakland. That's dangerous. Okay. I mean, I don't know how you feel about it, Cowboy Wrestling. I'd like to know, but I think that's dangerous. And so that's why I thought that what Rebecca did was right, because Libby could have turned around and said, hey, you know what? That's outside what the Coliseum specific plan allows. So why don't we have a different way? Because the community isn't happy about you're taking it over. It doesn't matter if the county of Alameda wants to get out of the sports business. The county of Alameda, I contend, was never in the sports business. It never had organization that did that. Anyway, I'm gonna have to wrap this up because I have a very big day tomorrow. Chi says it's important to eliminate the stadium because I think Oakland and the NFL will never come back again. No, that's the wrong way to think about things, Chi. You don't do that. If you want to build a city, if you want to do city building, you can't allow an organization to take away your facility. If a company leaves, a company leaves. But you have to have a plan for the future. You don't let the athletics do it for you. That's lousy economic development planning, lousy urban planning, just lousy city building. You don't do that. Period. End of story. Okay? She says, Dear Zinni62, let's say the Jaguars move out of Jacksonville. Ooh, okay. Do you truly believe that Oakland would do anything to lure another NFL team back here? The NFL would demand tax dollars. Yeah, I do. Because there are a number of ways to finance a stadium. Generating tax dollars, by the way, is a healthy thing, if you understand how to calculate how it can be done. So, yeah, absolutely. And on the note of Jacksonville, Jacksonville is working to build a sports and entertainment district on their own. If you look at it, it has a lot of similarities to Oakland Coliseum City. Take a look at it. Search around for it and then read, okay? All right. I got to go. I'll see you all later.